My guest this week on Under the Influence is vlogger, streamer, content creator, and influencer Eugenia Cooney. With almost 14 years under her belt as a content creator and influencer, she has faced everything from deplatforming to her own mental health struggles. But today we're going to sit down and talk about her process, how she managed to survive it all. What I really want to accomplish here is take a moment to slow down. I did this thing, Camp TikTok Live, a couple weeks ago.
That's
And it
awesome.
was so great to sit down and turn off the cameras and listen to process and hear people's story. And
That's
for anyone who knows you, there are many, many chapters to the almost 14 years you've been doing this.
yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes like to me I'm like, wow, I've been on like that long. So it's definitely really crazy to think about.
So okay, let's start with the broadest question of all.
Uh-huh.
How, after 14 years, are you still doing this? I mean, the challenges, the journey from platform to platform and bringing people along. I mean, people don't recognize that it is all you. And it's at a certain point, there's a ceiling to what we do. And I'm just fascinated to hear it from other people. So just before we go backwards, just talk to me. How are you almost 14 years into this? How are you accomplishing this? What is the trick to what you do?
So, I guess I've just kind of always tried to just kind of like stick with it and just kind of keep going. Sometimes like it's definitely so true what you're saying that like there's all the different platforms and, I guess like when TikTok kind of became a thing, it seemed like it was getting really popular. It seemed pretty fun. And then sometimes you just kind of want to I guess just kind of like jump to another platform, try it out, and I guess just kind of keep yourself out there, just kind of keeping yourself going and just keep posting. And I guess that's kind of what I've always tried to do.
Constant evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember your first video?
So, way back, like I guess like back on YouTube, I made some really cringy ones, I guess because it's so long ago. So, I think like some of my first ones are probably ones that like I've taken down. They were probably ones with just like stupid like webcam videos and
Right.
and things like that that were just like probably pretty cringy looking back. But I guess at the time I was just like,
But it's the spark. But that's what it is, right? It's a spark, and then you ride the wave.
yeah, I guess you kind of learn more. Like the more you do it, you kind of like get more used to it or kind of like figure out what you want to do more, kind of.
Sure, sure. And again, you've done, I mean, gaming,
Yeah, I've done that a little
live
bit.
streaming, IRL. I mean, you name it, you know?
Yeah,
So,
thank you. I guess I've been like like done a lot of different stuff on the internet, kind of. So
and you know, I want to learn from this for myself. I really started this for selfish reasons because I could do a podcast where I talk about all these different things, but I want to learn because I'm trying to grow outside of this bubble. And what you've managed to do by jumping the platform to platform is not a very easy thing to do.
yeah.
You got started by a couple videos,
hmm
and that was YouTube.
And actually, way back, I started
Right.
on this site that you've probably never heard of it. It was
I
this
have.
called it was this site called You Now, and it was just kind of like live streaming. It definitely wasn't like as advanced as like TikTok Live or I guess kind of like how a lot of new platforms are. But I guess like I was kind of like, oh, it seems fun. From there, I kind of found out about like a lot of people like that do YouTube, and I thought it seemed really cool that you could just kind of like make videos about like whatever you're interested in, and just kind of have people watch it. So and then from there, I kind of started like doing YouTube and posting videos there. And then I guess I kind of always stuck with the live streaming, whether it was like at first on You Now, or then I went over to Twitch, and now I'm on here. So yeah, I guess just kind of like
And let's just be real, not without resistance. And for me
yeah.
personally, okay, I do a Disney thing all day long. But what fascinates me about you, and it's got nothing to do with Disney, and I love the shirt,
Thank you.
is you're a fighter, and people have thrown some real you know what at you, and
Oh,
you have navigated some real treacherous stuff, not just as a creator, as a human being.
thank
So
you so
it's
much.
remarkable to just see you like thriving and doing that. And I want to ask you through it all, what was probably your biggest pivot? Like, and I asked this to our guest last week. What is that moment for you where you had to just really like sort of adapt or die, irrespective of where that pressure is coming from?
Yeah, thank you. That's so nice of you to say all that. And it is kind of like I definitely get what you mean. Like sometimes like I feel like as great as like social media and like the internet can be, like there's definitely kind of like downsides and like things that I guess you kind of need to like I guess almost try to like just like fight against or just like not let it like get to you as much as you can. And sometimes like I don't know, people can be like so horrible and just kind of like so determined to just kind of like bring you down, just kind of like twist around anything you do into like something bad. And sometimes I think like that can kind of like be a lot in you, like when you know you really are just kind of trying to make hopefully good content and trying to make people happy, but there's just kind of always people just like really like determined to try to make that look bad, whether like, you know, it's just like a lot of people kind of like coming together, kind of like grouping
Loud
up
people.
or people making videos against you, like really, really like making you into someone you're not. And
But do you find that for you as a creator that it is just as simple as work life balance and you just tune out that noise and
you
that's the
know,
cost of doing business?
I guess I try to. I guess like when it sometimes gets to kind of like cross like more of a line is like when people get like so determined that they literally are like to the point of trying to like deplatform you or like
Right.
yeah, and like that's when like it gets stressful when it actually can start having like that kind of impact. Or people kind of like doing things like in real life. Like I've had people like swat me, send me like crazy things to my house, like weird letters, like even just kind of like show up at the house and do like weird like drawings and things like that. And sometimes like I feel like, you know, it's like I understand that like not everybody is gonna always like you online and that's okay. But I guess like just when they, you know, really kind of start just kind of crossing like certain boundaries or are just like so determined to try to like ruin your life almost. It's like that's what I kind of just wish, you know, they could just kind of find like something better to do or just kind of go like watch someone else, you know?
But that's their entertainment. And I think if you aren't polarizing, if you are just vanilla, if you're up the middle, if people have no opinion of you, you're not moving the needle. If you're not moving the needle, you can't thrive in an environment like social media.
Yeah,
So for every person that loves you, there's somebody that hates you, if not two.
that's true. You know, I guess you really have to like remember that, you know, you just have to really keep that in mind that, hey, you know, like there's always going to be those people. And like sometimes it's kind of like the only way you're not going to make anyone angry or anyone a little upset is if you kind of just never like do or say like anything, you know? Not to say.
And you got to, and you stay, and people don't understand. You stay in your lane, you put on your horse blinders, and you do you. And the chips fall where they fall.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, I think really that's a very good attitude about it.
Well, it's easier said than done. So
Yeah.
okay, so let's talk about the fun stuff. I want to understand your process right now. Tell everybody what you generally focus on content wise, and then talk to me a little bit about your creative process. Do you write? Do you just turn on the camera and kind of just roll with it and find it in the edit?
So I've kind of never really scripted anything. I kind of just kind of, I guess, like talk and I know like to me, like sometimes like I don't know. Like there'll be some comments that are like, "Oh my girl, oh my gosh!" Like this girl is like, she is like, you can tell she has like no idea how to talk. Like what's wrong with her, whatever. But I guess like to me, if I had to like script things out, it's just kind of always felt like a little bit more like unnatural. Like I think if people can do that, then that's awesome, and some people are really good at it. But I guess like I just kind of always prefer just kind of turning on the camera and just kind of like talking to my viewers like that way. And yeah.
So would you say that your lives are your sort of your principal beat these days?
So that definitely like I've always loved doing lives. So I do that. I do like a lot of like kind of like makeup, like kind of like that kind of content. Because I've always loved makeup, so that's always been something that I really like doing. And then some of them I just kind of like to do just kind of like random vlogs, like, like I guess like that kind of content.
But you were gaming at one point. So this goes back to
Yeah.
what I said at the beginning of this chat, is the evolution of the creator. And the fact that I'm just fascinated by how you adapt, it speaks volumes to people following you platform to platform. And then the way you choose to diversify. Do you find that there's a lot of pressure today to catch up on all the platforms and to be relevant on all the platforms, or do you just sort of focus on one and go with that?
So, I guess like at this point I'm kind of like on a couple different platforms. I guess like sometimes I'll kind of like focus more in on one. Like, I guess I'd say like probably like the last like year or so, I've kind of been putting more like focus on TikTok, where TikTok, it seems like, there's so many like people that have like joined on to it. And I really like kind of like a lot of the community on here. There's a lot of really cool people. And so I guess like sometimes I'll kind of more, I guess like, not like platform hop, like totally like abandon, like usually, but I guess like sometimes I'll kind of like put more focus on like where either like I'm enjoying better or it just kind of seems to be like working out better.
Yeah. And it's almost like you don't care. You just kind of whatever I'm feeling, I'm going to do. And if they show up, they show up at this point because there's enough of them there. It's a very healthy way to kind of do what you do. Like you don't. I overthink everything. Okay.
Oh, thank you. It's okay. I know sometimes like it can be like stressful. So
Like I'm like I can't just do one podcast. I have like three things, and I need to compartmentalize them because it's too much. Like I'm always. So again, that's why I want to hear your process. Talk to me after 14 years about where the ceiling is on this for you. Can you keep doing this for another 14 years? Is there an end goal that you have set for yourself? Are you already there?
So yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes I feel like I'll be kind of so bad at like making those kind of like super long-term goals, and I guess I'll just kind of like see what happens like day to day kind of. And I mean, I love being on the internet, so I definitely hope to, have no plans to like stop doing it and just kind of want to like keep going and kind of like see where it takes me, if that makes sense.
But is it more you as an influencer in a brand deal sort of situation that works for you, or is it just deriving revenue from content? Because a lot of people think it's a springboard to a TV show or it's a springboard, whatever the deal is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess like I've kind of always mainly done like revenue kind of stuff, like mostly through just kind of like making content, doing live, and
Yeah.
kind of like how I've always, I guess, mostly done it.
Because then you're not beholden to anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So the one thing I know about you is you had an opportunity early on to do modeling, and you were like, I don't want to be. I'm not scrubbing my media. I'm not taking things off. And you said, no, I'm going to invest in myself, and that's a big leap.
Thank you. Yeah, because it was really weird. Like, I don't know if this is how it usually goes with people, but kind of like the lady that I guess I was like, I think it was weird because like we kind of signed a contract, but she never really like, I don't know, she just kind of stopped contacting me. It was weird, but she was like really like not that happy that I guess I was like putting myself out there online. Like she was kind of like, yeah, that's gonna make you look crazy, so you basically you have to like basically just like delete everything, like not have anything of us like out there about yourself. And I was kind of like, it was seeming like it was kind of starting to pick up a little bit with like posting videos and doing all that. So like I kind of didn't want to just like erase everything over.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how things are gonna go with this lady. So it was like kind of a weird situation. And I don't know if like most people like would tell their like client or whatever, like, yeah, you don't want to be on Google, but yeah, that's what she told me at the time. So it was weird.
Well, what year is this?
So that now at this point was probably like 10 years ago or probably more. It's so crazy, but
You need to make an excuse for that.
yeah.
That's a controlling person, and
Uh,
everybody's got a different story, and you caught lightning in a bottle. You try to ride the wave, and early on you're talking about somebody like this telling you how to do what you do. But the truth is you don't even know how to do what you do. So how are you going to listen to somebody else?
That's the thing. That's why I kind of didn't want to really just like, just listen to that. And
Right.
it seemed like she was kind of like controlling with a lot of things like, oh, you have to be dressing like this. You have to kind of, just kind of, I guess like with modeling, a lot of the time they want you to just kind of be like more like plain than I guess like what I was doing with some of the makeup and things like that. So
Right.
she was like, no, like, and I get it if it was just for like one shoot, but she was kind of like, no, whenever you go out, like anywhere, yet you just have to have like, very natural, very whatever, which is like, that's fine, but it's like, yeah, it's definitely just kind of like nicer, I guess, when you can just kind of more like be yourself and like
Yeah.
do what you want to do.
Not somebody's version of yourself.
Exactly.
That's what social media has done, is it's kind of broken up the game as far as entertainment and content consumption goes, because typically you have a studio, or in the case of music you have A&R. There's somebody shaping somebody. Here you're shaping yourself.
That's what I've always liked about it. Is that like, yeah, you can more just kind of like be like yourself and like shape yourself, like you said. So
And you're managing the risk, because you go with somebody else, it's still a risk, but at least and this is me speaking for myself as well now, I'll take a risk if I'm in control. Like I will calculate a risk and I will take it. And sometimes it's a silly risk, like just like, should I release this video? Sometimes I know we overthink that, like, should I really release this video?
yeah, I've definitely done that.
But if nobody sees it, then nobody knows it sucked.
Hey, exactly. That's like the worst that could happen, right? So
It's a tree falling in the forest. I learned that.
dang,
The early days.
video.
Say it again.
You could always make like a new video after that, like there's like
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely. And again, that is the fun of it. It's like molding clay. Now, let's shift gears to Disney, because like I said, Catherine, who helps me out a lot. I don't have moderators on my lives, but these women that help me out are fantastic.
Oh,
And I learn a lot about what's going on from them. And so it was like, did you know Eugenia's watching? I'm like, what?
oh
You
my
know?
gosh.
So I know, and she had asked me to ask you, but talk to me, let's talk about Disney. Where does your Disney love start? I know you've come to the parks a lot and you're coming soon, and that'll be fun. Where did it start?
Yes. So, even growing up, like I've always loved Disney. Like when I was really, really young, I think like my mom took me to see The Little Mermaid, and that was like it for me. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I love Ariel. Like I had so much Little Mermaid stuff. And then, I guess like when you're growing up, really like there's just so many good Disney movies, like whether it's like Toy Story or Lilo and Stitch, and like kind of like my parents, they would just like have a lot of like Disney movies always going. We'd always be on the Disney Channel. And I just kind of grew up loving it.
You're an East Coast kid?
Yeah, actually.
I know that, but for the benefit of the audience. So lots of Disney World trips, right?
Yes, like I was actually kind of late going to it. I think like the first time I went to Disney, I was like 15 or 16, but I feel like, even if you try to go later. It's just such a magical and like fun place that it's like you're gonna have a good time no matter what.
There's so much to do. It
There
is so
is.
huge, and most people don't even have any understanding of the offerings. That's why I try to kind of like slow down and find these things to do. But what is, tell me, like when you go to Disney, like what is your must do? Like top ride, top food?
Yeah, there's so much like, oh my gosh, like there's so much like great stuff there. So it's cool like in the world because I guess like there you have like all the different parks. I really really love Magic Kingdom because I don't know, it's just kind of like, you can't go wrong going there. It's kind of like the original place, I guess. So there, like I love it. Like, I like to like see the castle. I know like not everyone likes it. I actually love the Small World ride. Like, I know it's random, but it's so cute.
This,
So
this that's listen. That is a polarizing ride. There you
I
go, completely on
know
theme.
it's crazy. I don't get it. Like I'll see some people that like they hate that ride, but I've always liked it.
But the original Small World, the one that existed. Have you been to Disneyland?
I have, yes.
Okay. That's from the 1964-65 World's Fair. So that was created for the World's Fair, transported to Disneyland. So the
Oh,
idea of the ride is rooted in the history of the company.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. Now the one here in Disney World doesn't look the same. It isn't the same. I can tell you personally, I have a lot of childhood memories of throwing change in the water and all that. But I love that you love that ride.
Yes.
I dislike the hate for Small World so much because the message is so positive, and I'm like, y'all aren't listening.
God. And you know what else I love is like, have you been to the land at all?
Have I been where?
The Disneyland?
Oh, I've outside of the country, Tokyo, and I lived in LA for 2 decades. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, that's amazing. Because like, okay, I love Nightmare Before Christmas, so like,
Okay, very
I'm
good.
sure like when they redecorate like the Haunted Mansion. Like I haven't been in it in like a couple of years because I haven't been to Disneyland in a little bit, but I love that. Like they do such a good job.
And they don't do that here in Disney World.
I know it's like the Haunted Mansion ride, like even by itself, like it's great. But when they redo it for Nightmare, like they do such a good job.
Now, Disney's one thing.
Uh huh.
Let's talk gaming.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
You started gaming on Twitch in the fairly early days, no?
Yeah, probably now. Like probably now, like a good, like at least a couple years ago. Probably longer than that at this point.
That's it. I thought you were on Twitch a long time ago. I thought you stopped.
I kind of did now, but yeah, actually now it's probably about like 7, 8 years ago. Like it's like crazy how fast like
I
time
know.
goes by.
This is a very fast-paced thing,
It really is.
and that's why I like having these conversations because I don't know how people survive, and everybody's got a different game, right? Everybody fell into this in a different way. Everybody has sort of a different, not just a different backstory, but a different beat, right? I do what I do live on TikTok. There are people that are out in the parks at Disney that do something on YouTube and they monetize and they run a completely different business in a different structure. Again, going back to the idea of being, because really you are an influencer slash content creator because it's when people follow you from platform to platform, they're following you for whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's gaming or makeup. They want to see what you're up to, even if they hate every minute of it, or they pretend they hate it. They pretend they hate it.
Sometimes it feels like that. Well, kind of like how obsessive some people will get.
Right.
Kind of like, do they really hate you that much?
So whether it was 2 years, 7 years, 14 years ago, whenever it was, where did you start with gaming wise? Like, what was your game?
So, I've always been like really into like a kind of a Disney game, kind of. But have you ever like played Kingdom Hearts at all?
I know it. I didn't play a lot of it. Okay.
Okay, because that was kind of like always like my favorite game, and I've played like all of those. I've always been like really into that. Final Fantasy, some of those games.
Nice.
Yeah, there's some really good Final Fantasy games.
Any retro games?
So retro games, I mean, do you consider like Original 7 retro or?
I mean, what is that, PlayStation?
So, that I was also kind of late to playing, so I played it like later. But I think it was probably PlayStation, I think. And I would also play like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I don't know if you know Sonic at all, but I
Yes, I
mean,
know.
oh,
Like, could you
yay!
imagine if I didn't know Sonic? How weird would that
Actually,
be?
yeah, what am I saying? Who doesn't know Sonic, right?
So funny enough, Sonic is one of those games that, like in the early days of mobile devices, I wound up buying over and over again. I think I bought it for my T-Mobile Sidekick. I
Oh,
bought
that's
it for
so
one of my flip phones. It
cool.
was always like the game. I'm like, oh yeah, $5. I'll have Sonic.
It
You
was
know?
it was a fun game. Like it
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah, that's retro. That's Sega Genesis. Yeah, I'll give you that. That's
Yeah.
retro for sure.
Yeah, I
But did
think
you live
I
stream
had a
Sonic?
Genesis for I think like a little. Oh, actually, no, I had a Dreamcast like for a little bit, and then it sadly like it broke kind of early on, but it was fun at the time. And I had a PS1. Like I had like and I had a Game Boy Advance.
Now, did you ever play Siphon Filter on the PS1?
No, I actually don't know if I've heard of that.
Siphon Filter was a lot of fun. You were like a CDC agent, and you were like running around solving missions, disarming bombs, taking
Oh,
people out. The whole
that
thing.
sounds super cool.
Kind of like a Bond-esque game.
Oh, that's
But you
awesome.
didn't stream like Sonic, right?
No, back then, I guess that was like probably like when I was really young playing those kind of games. And like when I first got into like more like Sonic, like that kind of stuff, I probably was like too young to even like I guess even like stream anything. I don't even know if it was like a thing back then.
I don't know. I remember like the very early days of IRL, right?
Yeah.
And that was a whole thing. I remember the early days of podcasting. I'm just aging myself. I remember like, what is podcasting? And then all of that to find out it was just pre-recorded radio shows.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I can see like what you're saying though, because like when you kind of hear like a podcast, you're not like where it's like called something different than like a radio cast. It's kind of like, oh, what's that?
but that's so. But to bring it back to what we're talking about on the content creation side,
Huh?
that is the evolution of content consumption. There was a time where you were getting your content from the television. Now you got this thing in your pocket. You've got the media landscape is so fragmented, okay, that there's something for everybody. You can scroll this app and watch hamsters running in circles on,
It's
like, I don't know what they look like frisbees to me, right? And by the way,
yeah.
I'll watch. Like, I'll sit there for 5 minutes because why, right? So it's the whole landscape has shifted on that front, and it's just funny how the terminologies change, but at the end of the day, one thing remains the same, and that is story. And people are invested in a story, whether it's them coming for you because they don't like you, or coming for me because they don't like me, or whether it's them coming to you because you're on a new platform and they just want to see what you're doing next. They're there for your journey.
That is actually so true.
And I asked you this earlier, and I want to ask it again because I kind of want to see if we can work with this for a minute. You've been doing it almost 14 years. Who knows what the next platform is?
Yeah.
What is like the best case scenario? I mean, in other words, are you at a point where you're like, I can just run this grind and I'll run it as long as I can? Or are you like, no, like I want to cut an album one day, or I want to be like, in other words, some people, like the Pauls, like they take it and then they run with it. Next thing you know, they're punching Mike Tyson in the face. I don't
Oh,
see that for you.
yeah. So, I guess like, yeah, it's a good question. It's probably something I should even probably think a little bit more about, honestly.
You know,
But yeah, and I think that's awesome that there are people that, they do social media, and then next thing, like you see them doing like TV shows or movies, or, maybe having like a really cool product, or, whatever they're doing. And like, I don't know like how good I would necessarily be at like doing any of that. Like, I guess like if the opportunity like came along, then I definitely wouldn't be like opposed to it, and I think that'd be definitely pretty cool. But I guess like, you know, I guess like I just kind of always just kind of, switched up platforms, just kind of continued
Keep it interesting.
like making content, just kind
Yeah.
of seeing kind of like where my life goes and the world goes.
But
But it is
to
interesting.
arrive at such a sort of laid back approach to it, I mean that only comes with time. There's no way in the beginning that you had this laid back approach to what you do.
Yeah, I guess like when you're first kind of starting, like you're kind of more like, I don't know. I guess like I look back at a lot of my like old stuff and I'm like, okay, a lot of that's probably pretty like cringy, but I guess you're trying to kind of, I guess, like, get people to watch you, just kind of trying to like
And you're
get
a little
things
afraid at
going.
first. You don't know what you have in the early days, right? You don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
Oh, so sorry, what was that?
It's like you don't know what it is. What is
Uh-huh.
this thing that you've caught? And then what do you do with it? But I mean, again, you're seasoned at this point, and to listen to you just so laid back, you're like, yeah, I don't know. I'll just do whatever. And like, if tomorrow it's not TikTok, it's something else, I'll hop over there. And if they follow, they follow. Like it is just a very laid back mentality. I aspire to a be doing it to the extent that you do it, and at the success that you do it, but also with that carefree attitude. Because I think for me, I oftentimes find the pressure of like, I have all these platforms and I'm not using them, and I should be doing this and that and the other. And you're like, yeah, well, if I feel
Oh,
like making a video today, I'll make a video.
thank you. I think like it's cool though. Like you're definitely being smart though. I think like kind of trying to, I guess, kind of like diversify, kind of, and just kind of keep yourself like doing different things, and even like starting a podcast. Like that's really really cool, and
You
like
know,
kind of be doing something different, and I think that's awesome.
listen, I didn't think I'd be sitting here talking to you this week, even if you would have asked me last week.
Oh,
Because
really?
look, there's not enough time in the day. So every day I'm nudging people, come sit down with me, talk to me, and everybody's too busy. And it's really nice to find folks that are not just at the top of their game, but humble enough to take the time to sit down and talk about what they do. A lot of folks, are chasing something, and I think they lose sight of the fact that, a what we do is very much reliant on those that watch. So there
Very
is a
true.
give and take there. There is a price to doing business, but also you got to have fun. You can't let it eat you alive, or you're not gonna. I mean, look at you. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you're like just whatever, whatever I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think like you have to try to, have fun with things. And sometimes like if you meet like some really, really nice people, it's like I'm happy to like come on and and I was excited like you asked me. I was like, oh, that's so cool you're starting that. I'd love to. So
Super simple thing. It's just having a conversation. It's very lo-fi. There's always these opportunities to grab this, that, and the other, and hit the trend. And it's just sitting down and talking. Um, I also had another question for you on the front of like moving forward. Are there things you would like to do from like a content creation perspective that maybe you're not doing them now? Maybe you're holding them. Maybe you're unsure of them. Like, do you have that? Like, do you have something that's just like sitting there in your drafts and you're like, all right, I don't know. Maybe in like a year, I'll just say, you know what, F it. And like, you know what I mean? Like, do you have that? Do you find that uncertainty? It sounds to me like you don't even have that anymore.
So, I can definitely see like honestly why that can be like good things to think about. And it's always good to kind of be like, thinking of like maybe like new ways to do content.
Yeah.
Um, I guess right now I kind of like, I don't know, I'm weird with things sometimes. Like sometimes even if I do try something kind of different, I'll just kind of do it kind of like spur of the moment kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes like even if I'm a little bit afraid to put it out there, maybe like I wait like a couple of days or just kind of try it, like,
Yeah.
just kind of like see what happens.
Rip the
And
Band-Aid off.
I don't know, maybe that's not always like the best way to like do it, but like
It's working for you. I mean, that's the thing. It's
work.
and I look. The moment you stop having fun, people feel it. And if you're
Yeah.
really like this is what's so cool about this for me is if you're really being carefree about what you do, people are going to vibe off of that. They're going to want to experience what you do. And if you don't take yourself too seriously and you fall flat on your face doing something, then you'll all laugh together and you'll move on.
Exactly. I think like sometimes that's the best attitude to have about it is, try to not take it like too serious and just be yourself and try to like do what you enjoy. And I think that, like sometimes people like that more than if you're just kind of, I guess, like, I don't know how to say it, like not like being like fake, but I guess if you're kind of like not having a good time anymore, like you said, or like
Right. And what I'm learning here today with you is like it's always going to be something. So
yeah, I guess that's how I always want it to hopefully be. So yeah.
very inspiring. I appreciate you. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really admire somebody that can go through what you've gone through. Both with adversity is not necessarily the right word, right? Because it's really, let's just be honest, it's bullshit, right?
Thank you. Yes.
And you're just doing your thing, and if people don't like it, they don't have to watch. And there's been attempts to deplatform you, and I think at the end of the day, it speaks volumes to impact. And you only came on my radar from Catherine. I don't wear makeup. I think you know that. Maybe a little something for the bags under the eyes. I don't know. We could talk offline about that. But the more I started to read up, I was like, oh my God, like the nonsense that I've seen, I can only imagine. And you're standing and you got a smile on your face and you are a pleasant individual. And you're just absolutely you were just delightful. I didn't know what to expect. This was like, and you were like, oh my God, absolutely. And I just thank you. And I don't know. I know you're coming. We talked about this.
Yes, I'm so excited.
I don't know what may come of this. Who knows? But just to sit here and hear from somebody that has come out the other end of so much, that little bit for me, that's where I'm focused. And I think people need to realize that at the end of the day, the person creating the content is simply just the person, and you don't have to watch. And if hate watching is your entertainment, then maybe it's time you take a deeper look at yourself.
Right? Like, imagine, some of the people that get like that, it's like, if they were to put like all that time and energy into something good, it's like, they could do a lot of good things in the world. And it really means like, seriously, like so much to hear that. Like, thank you. And sometimes, it can be a little bit scary. Like, I think from the person like being interviews ends a little bit because you don't always know like what to expect and like, what people might ask or how it's going to go. But you've been so sweet and just like super easy to talk to and have like a great conversation with. And like, I was so excited to come on and everything. So like, thank you.
No, thank you. And again, because I think for me, there's still a lot to learn, and I'm not shy about it. And I think having these conversations, even just for a moment, maybe will encourage those that are out there watching to see that there's a lot more to it. I'm sure there's a lot of things that are said about you, myself, whoever, that, it's great. You say what you want. Who cares? But at the end of the day, there's a human being there, and you've overcome it. And I'm being completely repetitive.
Oh no,
it needs to be heard. I mean, like, so professional live streamer, content creator / influencer. This is my last question for you. Do you have a team behind you at this point? Or is it really just you and some friends you delegate out to?
I really don't. That might also kind of be like another reason why like some of the things that like you've brought up, like, do you ever think about this and like, things like that? I can definitely see like why you do and why it is probably smart to sometimes. But I guess like, I've kind of done everything just mostly like always mostly by myself. Like, I'm pretty close with my mom. Some people are kind of like, that's weird, but sometimes like she'll kind of help me, like maybe film a video with like, like, hey, someone, it might be helpful for someone to hold the camera or like whatever. But I mostly have kind of just always like done things like by myself. And I guess even sometimes just kind of like between like creating content and streaming and doing all that, like you already kind of have like so much like focus on that alone that it's hard to even kind of start thinking of like a lot of other things, I guess. So
Yeah.
that makes any
Wow.
sense.
Wow. Yeah, I get it. And nobody's going to do it the way you do it. And trying to get somebody to do a Eugenia video. Like here's the footage. Cut this.
Yeah,
I
that's
heard that. I've heard like I've had people tell me just get somebody off of Fiverr.
real. Oh, really? Yeah, because like the thing is, if you don't really know them and you don't really know if you're gonna like how they edit things, like it's kind
But
of
do you have an
like
internal logic set? I said I had one. That was my last question. I lied. Do you have an internal logic set to what you do? Do you know what I mean by that?
like a way I like think about it, or
Yeah. In other words, like in your mind, you're like, okay, well, like this is like a this video for me, and this is like a that video, and I like to do this a certain way, and I need this a certain like, and I only answer questions, but you know what I mean? Like, do you have an approach that your own rule set that you apply to the way you do what you do? Because
well,
there's nobody holding you accountable. There's no boss. There isn't that lady saying, "Don't do it this way."
yeah, definitely. So it is kind of like, I mean, I guess I kind of have like a certain like lighting setup, a kind of like way I guess I kind of know about like how I go about my videos. And then like, I kind of feel like it's like what you were saying. If you just go on like Fiverr, like I could see like why you might kind of be like a little bit like opposed to that, where you don't really know how the person is gonna like, if you like send them over just like your footage or whatever, like if you don't know kind of how it's gonna turn out, you don't really know if you're gonna like their editing style, then sometimes I guess I just kind of like, especially with a platform like TikTok, I feel like they make it so easy to just kind of like edit in the app, and
Yeah.
all the time, you don't even really need to do like crazy editing because that's not really what, at least like I find like what people are really there for. Like they're kind of more there to just like see you or like
Sometimes the videos that require the least amount of work, the ones that you just throw up, are the ones that do the best.
sometimes they'll be the ones that literally kind of do the best, just like you said, and kind of get like the most like traction. So I just kind of like, I guess, just kind of like edit in the app. I just kind of film things like pretty much on my own. And
But to be able to take that and then show somebody else how to do it, I mean, I've done editing for other people. I've done what I do for me for other people.
oh, that's cool.
Before I ever did it for myself. I've worked on other people's platforms and
Oh,
helped them grow.
really? Wow,
You
that's
know,
awesome.
a lot of people, by the way, don't look at their analytics. I'm almost certain you look at your analytics.
Yeah, I do look at them.
You have to.
I feel like you kind of do, because you kind of want to know, like, who's watching or like what's doing well, and
What's working, what's not.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
kind of,
no, I mean that's half the game. If you don't know, if you don't look at what's going on, then how are
yeah,
you going to adjust and learn from it?
exactly. Like you kind of want to see, like, like what videos are working, and then I guess like I've kind of always figured, like, hey, if that works, like you can kind of like do it again. Maybe not the exact same way, but it's like if that kind of content is working, then it's kind of like
Yeah,
it worked. Like keep going with it.
but you don't care about trends and all that stuff, right?
So sometimes like I'll kind of do like it probably like if you don't watch a lot of like makeup content, then you probably would have like no idea what I'm talking about.
Try me.
Like sometimes like I guess like there'll be like maybe like certain like products that will be kind of like whether they're just releasing or kind of popular in the moment, and then you kind of want to like maybe try it out, where it's new and exciting, or
But that
sometimes
still comes back to
like,
you. That is still a you thing, I mean, because
yeah,
there's 100 people they can watch put on the same product. They want to see
exactly.
you.
Yeah, because I feel like you're still kind of like, given like your own version,
Right.
or whether maybe there's like a certain sound, or like sometimes like I've done like some kind of like transition-y videos, like you start out with like no makeup, and then you kind of like have like a cut, and then you have like
Right.
a look done. So, sometimes maybe I'll do like a trending sound or like things like that. But I guess like you're kind of, I feel like even with that stuff, like you're still making it your own, because like you're still kind of doing like your own look, or, it's like your own personality kind of. So, like, yeah.
Last question for real, because somebody wrote this in the chat, and it's so the perfect way to end this.
Hey.
How does she recharge her energy to stay so sweet with all of the hate?
Oh, that's a really nice question. And it's a good question, honestly. Like sometimes like there definitely is a lot of that, but I think it's kind of like what you were saying, Royce, is just kind of like, like for every person that's going to be hateful, you just have to remember there's going to be another person that loves you, and you just kind of have to like not let those kind of people like bring you down. You just have to keep going through it. Don't let those people stop you from doing like what you love doing. And I think like, you just have to keep going. Try not to pay too much attention to it.
There it is.
That's all you can do sometimes.
The carefree nature of doing what one does best and knowing the cost of doing business is the formula for success, and Eugenia embodies that with not only the way she carries herself, but the way she continues to adapt throughout the social media landscape. Join me next week on Under the Influence.